Hello and welcome back to the CFC Talk podcast, episode 2 of this season. And we've got another big guest tonight joining us, Drogba, all the way from India. How are you doing? How has your summer been so far? Before we get into football, before we get into Chelsea, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for having me on. And yes, I was looking forward to the summer, like how the transfer window started, the kind of names that we got linked to, the ownership change. It was something unprecedented. It is something that we as Chelsea fans are seeing for the first time. So it was, quite exciting to see what lies ahead as a Chelsea fan. New owners, new regime, how the things will pan out. But I'm getting nervous as we are moving, to the business end of the transfer window. But let's see what happens. I'm hopeful, I'm positive, but getting nervous day by day.
Yeah, it's a tricky, transfer window. I keep saying this. I said to one of my friends the other day, I said, this is a very key transfer window for a lot of players because they want to make an impact and get into their national teams more than anything this year. It's a World Cup. And not only do you want to perform for your club, but you want to perform at a level where you get selected. So I just want to quickly dive straight in. And before we get into the transfers, I'll just quickly sum up what the big news are from the Chelsea pages on Twitter and on social media. Lewandowski, although Chelsea do seem like they're interested in him because Jesus might be going to Arsenal, there's a strong pull there. Lewandowski will still head into Barcelona, I think. Kounde, deal done, I think, with Chelsea. They've agreed a 5-year deal with Kounde. They just need to figure out the fees and everything with Sevilla before they finalize and announce stuff there. Lukaku to Inter will happen at any cost because Inter want Lukaku. Lukaku wants Inter, and I can see the shake of the head right there, and I can tell how disappointed you are because I think every Chelsea fan didn't expect this to happen. And as well as Chelsea targeting some other players, which we'll talk about as well. But before we get into those transfers, let's talk a little bit about the current players at Chelsea and their situation. I talked about hudson-odoi, Kante, and Jorginho in the last episode, but tonight we've got 3 more players: Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, and Timo Werner. I'll go straight up and say 2 of those players who have generally struggled to settle at Chelsea for the past 2 seasons, Hakim Ziyech and Pulisic. Injury prone, of course, Pulisic. And Werner has shown some, sparks of great play and great, football play. But overall, nothing special from these 3. What are your comments and what are your, thoughts on them heading into the next season? And if the right offer arrives, are you as a Chelsea board member saying, "Yep, let's make that deal happen"?
Yes, unfortunately, for the past 2 seasons, none of our forwards have been consistent, right? Like, there is not a single guy you can pin your hopes on, apart from Havertz, who hit form in the last leg of the last season. Like, in the last 6 months or so, he was quite consistent. But apart from Havertz, there is not a single forward who you could say that, okay, he's had a good run. Ziyech was very good in the 2 months. He literally carried the team for 2 months on his shoulders in January and February. But that is what my problem with the forward line is. Like, Werner, you have told that he has shown sparks, but those are only sparks. We haven't had a consistent run of form from Timo Werner, like a run of 15, 14 games in which he's scoring or assisting in every other game. It's like he'll score in 2 or 3 games, then he'll go quiet, then he'll miss those sitters, then he'll have some horrible performances. And the Brentford game, I clearly remember the Brentford game that we lost, and the Newcastle game that we won right at the end. Havertz scoring that last minute winner. Werner had the worst game in a Chelsea shirt. Like, last season, he was, doing his off the ball movements pretty well. He was creating spaces for the other attackers. His defensive work rate was very high. This season, that has also gone away to an extent. He was really good against Southampton. Could have got 4 goals in that game. Then it was phenomenal against Real Madrid in the second leg. But my complaint with Timo Werner is why he is not able to produce this week in, week out. That's my problem. So when I was doing a podcast and I was discussing this thing with one of my friends, I mentioned 9 players in our squad right now, keeping Rudiger and Christensen aside. who have already left, that if they leave Chelsea right now, I wouldn't mind. Ziyech, Pulisic, Werner, Loftus-Cheek, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Malang Sarr, Marcos
Callum,
Alonso.
Callum would be on the list.
Yeah, yes. Callum is on my list. I'm quite, see, Callum Hudson-Odoi is in the bracket of players like Marcus Rashford, Phil Foden, and even Mason Mount. All of these players have made or reached a certain level and have been a consistent part of their squad since last 2 to 3 seasons, and have been garnering praises from some pundits at certain extent. But Callum Hudson-Odoi has not been able to do
but
anything. Even when he has got chances, he has not been consistent or has not made an impact for my life.
I agree. But also, would you not consider the fact that Callum Hudson-Odoi has only had, I guess, 19 appearances this season, hasn't had a lot of time to play? Of course, yes, towards February all the way until the end of the season, he had this injury which he couldn't play. But before that as well, he wasn't a regular starter in a team full of, $1 million signings, Hakim Ziyech, Pulisic, and all of these guys. So would you not say maybe a loan rather than rather than selling him?
Yeah. See, leaving the club, by leaving the club, I mean that doing permanent deals, making permanent deals for these players. See, I would love nothing more than Callum Hudson-Odoi to hit form, because as Chelsea fans, it gives us immense pleasure to see our academy graduates killing it on the field.
Agreed.
For example, we take a lot of pride in Reece James's performances. We take a lot of pride when Mason Mount performs on the pitch. And whenever Mason Mount has had subpar games this season also, we have defended him because he's our academy product, because we have that emotional attachment with Mason Mount.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
So Callum Hudson-Odoi needs to earn that trust from the fans. And same with Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek, I can say that he has not been played in his preferred position. He has been fiddled a lot around. He has been put in a front three. He has been put as a number 6 alongside Kante or Jorginho. He has been played as a wing-back also. He played as a wing-back in the League Cup final and in the second leg at Real Madrid. So Loftus-Cheek, I can make a case for. Okay, there is a reason why he is not being consistent. But Callum Hudson-Odoi, I would really like, him to see he can, make his own mark if he goes on a loan, or he is a starter for every team, for any team that he is put on loan. And then you can see he can come back and stake a claim, like what Gallagher has done with Crystal Palace last season. I want to see same with Callum Hudson-Odoi. But right now, whenever he's got chances, you remember that Brighton game, right? When we were leading 1-0 and Brighton were all over us. And then he had such an easy chance to play Mason Mount one-on-one. And he found, I think it was Lewis Dunk, or I don't know who was Brighton centre-back, who blocked that pass. So, and this has happened time and again. There are moments that Hudson-Odoi can grab. That game against Manchester United at Stamford Bridge, when he was one-on-one with David De Gea, could have scored in the 3rd minute and we could have killed the game. So he has not grabbed those moments. He had that run in the season with Maurizio Sarri, same with Loftus-Cheek. But after that, both him and Loftus-Cheek have kind of faded away.
No, I completely agree with you on that. I'm sorry that I'm cutting you off, but I completely agree with that the Callum Hudson-Odoi still needs to prove himself to become a regular starter, and that lack of minutes, even when he's not injured. I completely get the fact that Tuchel might prefer someone who's more experienced over him, because we've got to remember, we talk about Callum Hudson-Odoi having played for so long at Chelsea, but he's only 21. So even if we do send him out on a loan, it's not a loss for Chelsea. And it's just that after these injuries and these niggles that he's gotten in the last 2 seasons, he hasn't just been able to, play the way that he played under Maurizio Sarri, as he said, which is why I'd actually like him to go out on a loan, get that confidence back up, and come back and play for Chelsea, because when he does play at his best, you really think, why doesn't he start every single game? And why are we spending 50 million, 60 million on attackers when we've got someone like this coming straight from the academy? So it's a matter of, I guess, just, trying to get him to build up that confidence before becoming a regular starter. In terms of Hakim Ziyech, I think it's just Tuchel and Hakim Ziyech at the moment. Even, Simon Phillips was reporting the other day that their relationship isn't the best, and because Tuchel thinks that he's not going to fit into the Chelsea system. It's kind of a hint towards saying, look, I'm not going to change the 5 at the back or the 3 at the back formation that I'm playing at the moment, and play a 4-3-3, which is what Hakim's used to at Ajax, or was used to at Ajax. So I think Hakim, I'd be happy to let go of Hakim Ziyech. Pulisic, I might give another season, but if he does get injured, it's like, I think it's over for me. Because if it's a player who's getting injured every now and then, and we can't have someone, even if he's not performing to his best, and if we can't have a player like Pulisic on the bench and just come on and put an impact into the game, or start a game and do an impact, then there's no point of having someone who's injured for half the season, and then struggling for the rest of the half because he's just come back from an injury, or he's got an injury, or he's still recovering, or whatever, in that sense as well, for me. Moving on, the interesting part of the summer, the transfers. The obvious one, Kounde, I think that needs to happen. It needs to be number one on our priority list. I don't know who at Chelsea, let Christensen and Rudiger both go at the same season for free. And now it's how much is that going to cost Chelsea in terms of trying to go for Kounde or Koulibaly like we're doing, and having to pay, I think, a little bit of an extra price because teams know that we desperately need a centre back.
See, departures of Christensen and Rudiger will not hurt us that much in the long term than departures of Marc Guéhi and Tomori. See, letting go of centre backs like Tomori and Marc Guéhi and even Tino Livramento, if we would have kept him last season, he could have easily got 20-25 games, because it was a quite long period when Reece James was out with that hamstring injury, and we tried all kinds of combinations at our wing back positions when both Chilwell and James were not available. This is poor planning. This is a lack of foresight, which unfortunately Man City and Liverpool are having right now. They know where to invest. They know how to invest. Like, for example, what Liverpool have done with Darwin Núñez right now. Liverpool don't break their bank so easily. They have gone out and spent in the region of around 100 million. It means that they are serious. It means that Darwin Núñez is a serious player. And we need serious players. We need a replacement for Rudiger, who's out there so experienced and at such a level, who can, week in, week out play with that intensity in the Premier League, and, can perform against the best of attackers. If we are having Erling Haaland, Darwin Núñez, Mohamed Salah, Luis Diaz, all of these players next season in the same league, all of these players will be playing against us next season. So we need centre backs who can, tackle these players, or who have an experience of the big games of the big leagues. But if you would have kept hold of Tomori, and that situation would have been taken care of with much more maturity, a bit more maturity and a bit more foresight. Marc Guéhi, you've seen what a season he's had with Crystal Palace. He was absolutely phenomenal.
Agreed. Yep.
Same with Tomori. He's won the Scudetto.
That was I don't know who made that deal, and why did we not have a buyback
what
clause?
A bunch of idiots we are. We spend a big amount of money for Lukaku, spend in the region of 100 million pounds, and we send Tammy to Roma, and we put a 80 million buyback.
What we'll do is we'll discuss Lukaku towards the end, because I want to.
I mean, I was just sorry to digress, but I was just giving an example. So it's not like that. Even if we get Kounde, Koulibaly, or delete. Suppose we have a cracker jag of a transfer window this season. Like, owners, they go bonkers and they are all out in the local name. We will back Tuchel, whatever happens. We will get Chelsea back to where they belong. So we get Dembele, we get Koulibaly, we get Kounde, we get delete. But what will happen is, we'll let go of some really good academy graduates in the process. So we might let go of Levi Colwill. We might let go of Ian Maatson. Tariq Lamptey, we have already lost. Livramento, we have already lost. Livramento, we can get back. 26 million is the buyback. So it's not like it's all over with Livramento. But See, when a club gets rid of a player like Kevin De Bruyne, and then still you don't learn from your mistakes, and then you again and again commit the same mistakes.
No, I agree. I think
Huh.
if you look at Chelsea's transfer history all the way back from 2017, and I was kind of discovering
I still remember at one time we had Mo Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, and Lukaku at the same time in 2014. I mean, what the club is doing, I don't know, man.
I think we have generally struggled getting in players who perform at their level at their previous clubs. Since 2017-18, I think the only kind of signing who has impressed Chelsea at Chelsea is Kovacic. Other than that, every signing that we've made is either struggled at Chelsea or still hasn't gotten off the mark, and we're still waiting for them to get off the mark.
Third in the Ballon d'Or rankings.
No, I'm not. Jorginho, I think he was signed before that. I think he was signed before 2017-18, before Kovacic. We signed him because it was in the
Jorginho,
because we got.
I think Jorginho and Kovacic came.
We got Kovacic on a loan. We got Kovacic on a loan, and then next season we bought him. So that's why I said 2017-18. So I think it was right
18-19, I think it was. Yeah,
it was right as soon as the transfer ban hit, and that was the only signing of the season. But it's a figure, even whether it was right before before we signed Jorginho or after. It's a figure that is not nice to see because last season we splashed out quite a lot of money overall. The season before that we did the same. This season again we've got another 200 million that the owners are going to put up for Tuchel to spend. And if we do get Dembele, Kounde, maybe Nkunku in there as well, and Koulibaly, that's 4 incredible players for their clubs. And if they don't perform, then it's like, what do Chelsea do? Because it's like every signing that we've gotten has not performed to the level.
See, it has to do with the managerial stability also. We sign a player a season and a half after, the manager who brings that player is no more at the club.
I agree with that. So
if you look at what City have been doing, what Liverpool have been doing, they have had same managers for last 6-7 seasons. So they have handpicked each and every player. So if Ziyech is not working, Pulisic is not working, Werner is not working, apart from Lukaku, I think there is not a single player that we have signed after Thomas Tuchel, right? All of these players were there when Thomas Tuchel came to the club.
No, I can't remember. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry.
Last summer we only signed Lukaku.
Yeah.
And got Saul on loan.
Yeah,
and both of those signings didn't work out for us. So it's the first time that Thomas Tuchel hopefully will be given a free hand and will be given a say in the transfers and the players that he wants at the club. So the main reason why we lack, these signings don't work because we lack the foresight, as I've told you, because we are not patient. I think Lampard lost like 5 games in 7 and he was sacked. On 2nd December we were top of the table when we beat Leeds at the Bridge, and 26th January he was sacked.
Yes.
So that is the margins and that is the time frame we are talking about here. So
no, I think there is no debate about the scrutiny the managers come into or came into under the Roman era, because last 10 years we've had 10 managers, including Steve Holland, which I don't know if you want to count him as a manager. He was there for like 1 day, one of the smallest managerial stints at Chelsea. But I think you're right with that, because that's why I think there was such an outrage when Lampard went, because what fans expected was a Liverpool style or a Man City style kind of restructure, where Lampard would be there. If we're not winning the Premier League, it doesn't mean that we have to sack the manager. It just means we have to rebuild and we have to get back together. And that's what Liverpool and Man City have done. And that's why these two teams for the last 4 seasons have been competing with each other edge to edge. Last season it was 1 point. The season before that, I think the gap was a bit bigger, but before that it was Liverpool's title, and that's why the title's been swapping between the two. Why hasn't the title returned to Chelsea since 2015? Because we haven't been consistent. It's simple. It's very simple, and to me, it clearly looks like you're right in terms of getting rid of players that have been here before Tuchel and saying to Tuchel, look, you've got a contract till 2024 with the high likely of you renewing it. Here's a budget of 200 million. You've got a free hand of selling and buying whoever you want and getting on with the season, but also saying, you know what, we need to make sure that we get a major trophy in next season. We can't afford another rebuild season like this one.
See, that is the most important point, that we have to be patient. Good season does not necessarily means trophies always. You have to look at the progress also. Like, for example, Man City were 15 minutes away from having a trophyless season on the last day. If it hadn't been for Gundogan scoring that winner. So they would have gone trophyless. But you wouldn't say that Man City are not a top team or they are not there. It's just that they stumbled at the last hurdles this season round also. So we have to have that kind of patience. That last season, that season in which we won the Champions League, Liverpool were trophyless. So it was not like that, Klopp was a bad manager, suddenly became a bad manager, or it was like you cannot trust Klopp, or he's just a one season wonder. He's just won the Champions League and won the Premier League. He won't do anything good. So this season he's won 2 trophies. Almost won the Premier League, almost won the Champions League. So we have to show patience with Thomas Tuchel. Apart from, like trophies is a fair expectation. At Chelsea Football Club, you are expected to win trophies. You want to win trophies. This is not Crystal Palace. This is not Arsenal. No offense, no banter to the rival club. But
no, to Arsenal we can do it. To Arsenal we can do it. It's fair play.
But look at what Spurs are doing right now. Spurs have had a brilliant transfer window so far. Perisic, then Bissouma, Kulusevski, they signed in January. So these 2-3 players, they have been really good. So we have to do something like that, and we have to show the faith in manager, because right now, if we are to let go of Tuchel, suppose worst case scenario, we imagine for a second, who is a quality manager right now in the market who is realistically available that you can bring in to lead a club like Chelsea?
No one.
And you have to put your faith in Thomas Tuchel. See the kind of air and the kind of atmosphere that was around Chelsea when all of that, fiasco began, that sanctions will be put on Chelsea and the club will be sold. Roman Abramovich will no longer will be the owner. So Thomas Tuchel managed all those off-the-field issues very well. Whenever he was asked about those diplomatic issues, the political issues, he was very good in handling those things. So he effectively saved our season and a club from crumbling down. Imagine if we didn't have Champions League football this season. What would have happened? So it's a brilliant achievement that Thomas Tuchel was able to, manage. And even though we had such a bad season in terms of injuries and luck was not there, the ownership changed and all of a negative air always surrounded Chelsea. And we lost every cup game in a heartbreaking fashion. We lost 2 cups in penalties. The kind of performance that we gave against Real Madrid, we deserved to go through. But unfortunately, Modric happened and we could not do anything about that pass. Yeah. So it was very heartbreaking in the manner which we've lost. So you have to see what Thomas Tuchel can achieve in the long term and with the right players. And if he's given a free hand to handpick his players, if he wants Nkunku, get Nkunku. Get rid of Werner Pulisic, Ziyech. If all 3 of them are not working, at least Thomas Tuchel will have the right resources. Right now, what we'll say is we are not clinical enough in front of goal. I'm fed up of hearing this from last 2 seasons. We are not clinical in front of goal. But when we used to start Giroud, we won't trust him enough. But Giroud, when he used to start, he used to score always. We sold Tammy, he won the Conference League. We sold Giroud, he won the Scudetto, and we've gotten Lukaku. See what has happened. My point
is it maybe it's a Chelsea problem? Maybe it's a strikers at Chelsea problem, because it's not just Lukaku. It's Morata. It's Lukaku in there as well. Tammy wasn't performing to the level that he has been at Roma, at Chelsea. Maybe it's a tactic issue. And I'm not blaming Tuchel for it. It's just maybe that, we've got to try something like Liverpool or Man City and play with a false 9 and play with someone who can, go in behind the defenders, which Werner's supposed to do, and maybe he's not doing that because he isn't getting a lot of time on the pitch.
See, what I feel is, first of all, we need to stop throwing this word world class. This term world class gets thrown around a lot. Lukaku is not world class. What is a world class player? World class player is who can fit into any system, any team, and can perform at the same level anywhere. That is a world class player. Lukaku is not world class. Lukaku is Serie A class at best, what we can say. So I agree what you're trying to say, that it's a Chelsea problem. The strikers tend to fail, but we have to look at the examples like Diego Costa. Diego Costa was a consistent goal scorer for us. Drogba. Drogba, it's not fair to keep Drogba in this bracket because he's a legend. He is my favorite player of all time. So I cannot even imagine if Chelsea will have a striker like Drogba ever again. But what we need to keep in mind is that whatever player now Thomas Tuchel signs and Chelsea sign, they have to make sure that that player fits into the system. And what Thomas Tuchel is trying to get. See, a lot of it has to do with the creativity also. We lacked creativity as soon as our wingbacks got injured. This 3 at the back system requires our wingbacks to bomb forward and to create those spaces in the wide areas on the flanks. There was you remember in last season in October, November, there was a patch in between where Chilwell and Reece James were scoring in alternate games.
Yeah.
Chilwell was scoring from one end, Reece James was scoring from other end. So it happens because when the action is happening on the other side of the field, the other side gets free, and you're effectively the other wingback becomes an attacker. That's what Tuchel ball is all about, with strikers and the other 3 guys in the middle doing their thing. So it's a chain. Like, it's all of this is connected. If one piece falls down, the whole thing crumbles.
Yep.
So I think, I personally think we don't need to get a striker at all. We can do with Havertz this season with Armando Broja as a backup. That would be enough. First, we need to sort our mess at the back, in the back line. That is the pressing need right now.
For that, I think there is an offer being made to Inter, with Lukaku being involved in that offer, is Dumfries, either on a 40 million buyout or a loan for a season, and then with a buyout clause. That could be a good option in defense. I think he plays wing back, and if Tuchel's so keen on staying with that 3 at the back, playing with wing backs, he could try out Dumfries for a loan if Inter's happy with it, because clearly they feel like they want to do everything in their power to try and get Lukaku back. For them, the next season, if they want to compete, it's Lukaku or nothing kind of situation, which is good for us, because at the end we don't want someone like Lukaku at the club at the moment with everything that he's done and all the chances that he's gotten. So for us, there's not a loss other than the money that we've spent last season, and I guess Inter won't be able to pay that back in full.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, I completely agree with everything that we've kind of talked about today in terms of Tuchel and the way that he needs to set up next season and the players that he needs to worry about. Just quickly, right before we end the podcast, your quick top 3 signings of the summer, 3 players that you want to see coming at Chelsea.
Kounde definitely, Dembele, and Dumfries if it happens. Another centre back if it is practical for us to get, which I don't know if it happened or not.
Okay, yeah, top 3. That's Drogba's top 3 transfers of this season. Once again, thank you for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much.
And hit us up anytime you want to come back again. We'd be more than happy to have you again on the podcast. To all of you guys listening and watching on YouTube, make sure to leave a like, rating, and subscribe. Make sure to follow us and add us to your playlist to get your weekly podcast right on your phone, on all of your devices. So follow all of our social media pages, because before you get it on YouTube, you get the latest news on there with all the graphics and everything sorted out for you. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.